looking at the latest American Airlines in-flight magazine, and boy, here's a story about this cloud stuff. It says cheaper, it says faster, it says high quality. Why aren't we doing this? And so in response to some of these pressures for rapid response to change and fast turnaround, time to market, low cost in the economy pressures, now many organizations are looking at cloud. And they're finding, what is it? Is it going to really be what they think it's going to be? You may have felt like this little guy. You started looking into cloud. Your boss thinks it's great. Surely it is. We'll investigate. Wait, there's a few problems. Oh, wait, security. So what do we do? So enterprise IT is really positioned at that point right now where what do we do? And what are the implications or what are the backlashes? What we're seeing, the chain reactions from this disruption of cloud are really in three areas that we believe. One is a response because they start looking at these public cloud services that are very well known in the market and having some of the concerns about whether it's security policies, auditability, compliance, et cetera. And so in response to that, they're turning towards internal or private cloud solutions. Also, we're seeing a supplier explosion. Oh my gosh, there's a big market here. Everybody's getting into the cloud. Independent software vendors like ourselves moving into the cloud, or we've been in the cloud actually for quite some time with software as a service capabilities. And then the IT organization itself shifting to really embrace service management and to really embrace the philosophy of service centricity in their IT organization. So let's look at the internal and private cloud area. So again, cloud promise, it looks like a nice place. The lack of trust equals internal cloud, and we have a lot of interest there. So some of the characteristics in how IT looks at the private cloud is in this kind of a view. They first of all start thinking about, virtualization, right? That's my first step. I'm thinking cloud, I'm thinking private cloud. Virtualization is that thing that I've got to have. And so we tend to think again in the technology aspects and focus on those shared virtualization resource pools that we need to have in play. Autonomic and automatic provisioning is another key characteristic that's a must-have in environments like this. So the management of those services need to be as zero human involvement as possible. And so you can't do that really without effective software and an enterprise architecture for the tools that you wrap around this infrastructure environment. You've got to have some ability here to flex the resources up and down on demand. Now that demand might be a little bit manual based on a request from a catalog, or it might be very dynamic just based on capacity thresholds that you may instantiate within this environment. But either way, that ability to flex up and down is necessary. And then as far as the services actually that you offer against this environment, typically we start with infrastructure services that are oriented against those favorite and familiar silos that we know, like storage and management, data center space, network servers, and having some infrastructure services that are aligned there. Platform services, which are a little more aligned to a compute style, whether it's J2EE type environments and having some services built around that platform, and then application services that would sit on the top side that are more oriented around the type of application or the type of business capability that you're offering. So your service design starts to become important. Now the business, when they hear about this, what are they thinking? I need a portal. I would like to go to a portal and request something and it's just there. So that's their interpretation of this cloud thing within the business. So it's important. You've got to have those readily available business services, and it's got to be self-sourcing. You've got to have that catalog in place. That catalog has to be underpinned by a data model that supports attributes like financial structures, costing structures, and pricing structures, usage-based models for back charging into your business. Now let's take a look at the supplier explosion that's happening, because this too is another impact. It's not just about impact to the enterprise, but there's an impact to the suppliers as well. Previously, around 2002, you had a pretty well-known set of suppliers that existed out there as far as traditional outsourcers and some emergence of some internet-based providers that were evolving. SLA-based controls were coming of age in this space. And in this case, the CIO gets to track, or they did track about 80% of the spend in this type of a supplier market. But oh my gosh, look at it now. We do literally have an explosion on our hands. And these suppliers are all coming into the market and needing help. They're needing help with how do I develop services? How do I provide services back to my customer? The telecom companies are all clamoring for entry into this space, whether it's with their infrastructure as a service kinds of offerings or providing an effective platform for software as a service to resell to SMBs. So we see quite a lot of activity moving in the supplier space and need for the tools and the governance structures for consumers, the enterprise consumers, to be able to procure and use all of these now market services that are on the market. Excuse the fonts a little bit, but now what's happening, whereas in previous and in some cases current IT, the concern has been shadow IT. So, oh my goodness, we don't want the business unit buying and selecting and buying their own laptops. We don't want them selecting and buying their own servers and putting them under their desk or in a closet, right? So we did a good job of trying to centralize IT and pull these things together and manage IT from a central perspective. Well, now the phenomenon that's happening is really shadow sourcing. And so through that, now there's an opportunity here because IT, on one side you could say IT may be marginalized as far as their effectiveness, their value to the business, because the business they don't need IT. You saw those suppliers, I just need a credit card. I go out there and I can buy, SurveyMonkey. I can go do that and do all my HR surveys through SurveyMonkey. You start to hear arguments like this and you see some of these patterns emerging in the business where they're going directly out to the internet, and many times they don't even think of them as an IT service. But then when you step back and look at it, well, there's data now spreading. And do you care? Is that a concern for your business? And this is where enterprise IT can step in. There's a value opportunity to help ensure that the business stays safe as well as that the business gets the right value. So negotiating those agreements with the right suppliers that you want to do business with, having the catalog in place, and being able to broker those services will basically